I will speak in these 10 minutes about global dynamics, because you hear about PET in Europe, but there are very big global dynamics for the moment that impact and Turkey and Europe and everyone who doesn't speak Chinese for the moment. And I have a feeling that I belong to the new era because I can speak Chinese, so that's good. Uh, Now, what happens? You see this slide, busy slide. You will have those slides, but the most important thing is United Nations, despite what's going on in the world, that and from Brussels to fly here, we needed to avoid the Russia-Ukraine war and also Israel. So it's in between. Even flying from Europe to Istanbul, we have an issue. Everywhere there is a war around. So, and this creates supply chain problems because Europe is not self-sufficient on energy nor on raw materials. And that's why we have a big problem. Now, at the same time, what at UN is happening on environment side, they want to create a global plastic pollution treaty. This started from 2022, given only 3 years, so normally should have finished in Busan in South Korea December 2025, which did not. Then they convened another meeting in Geneva in August, last August, which also didn't fly the decision. Now, the next meetings are planned end of the year, this year, and what is this discussion? What do they want to do? They're going to do global EPR, extended production responsibility. And this is very important because when you have collection systems everywhere, that you know very well that we have a lot of informal sector in many parts of the world. Europe is extended production responsibility from 90s, but elsewhere we have a lot of informal sector and we need to embrace this informal sector. So what I was saying is that despite what's going on in the world, the most important thing is that the environmental legislations continue, and the most important thing is that they are discussing things which will impact the plastics industry, both virgin and recycled. Now, I will go to, even though I prefer to be outside and not behind here, but so to give you an idea, what's going on in Europe? Europe, because I said, is dependent on outside sources in order to produce something, produces final products, but you need the input to come in. Now, there are two initiatives here. The first one, it's called Antwerp Declaration and refers to the whole industry to be helped because all industry, not only chemical industry, but the whole industry is using energy and raw materials to produce everything. So once you are not competitive and on energy and on raw materials, and we know that rare earths, most of it comes from China. In order to produce virgin PET, to give you a concrete example, we use something from petrol, PTA, and something from natural gas, MEG. And you catalyze it, how? You catalyze it how? You catalyze with antimony trioxide, critical raw material. 55%, it's controlled by China. And there are restrictions in exporting this because it's been used for defense, electronics, and other sectors. It's not about plastics. So Europe is really in deep problem, and they see that, and they ask the help from the European Union Commission plus member states in order to help them secure the production. Critical Chemicals Alliance started this January, 13th of January, and what is this about? It's about creating a map to identify critical molecules and factories. Once you are in a critical molecule and you produce this critical molecule in Spain, you need to protect this if it is a critical molecule and then site, because you need to have that in Europe and not because of uncompetitive situation, move outside, which is currently happening. My company, Indorama Ventures, is very much present in Europe, but it also has Çorlu here in Turkey. We have a factory in Egypt, and we see that is much, much better to have in the periphery of Europe than in the European Union itself. So I'm a Greek. If you have in Greece a plant of Indorama Ventures or in Çorlu, there is no question what is better. It's clear. We should not invest in the European Union because it doesn't make economic sense. So from the chemical point of view, this is two examples of Europe is the last call or the last dance, if we speak with basketball terms, about the European industry that is dying for the moment in all sectors, plastics included. Now, something interesting about safeguard measures that you have in Turkey as well, provisionally, but they still apply the 200 per ton, which might be given later additional or less, depending on the outcome of it in the finalization. In Europe, we are thinking as well to start a safeguard measure in order to protect. Imagine if Turkey is protected because of Asian flows, needless to say about the European Union that we need to protect as well ourselves. So that's something that is being starting the process and it's very infant stage, but I'm informing you that is coming. Anti-dumping case, Vietnam is going to be finalized soon, the case, but we were told as well by the European Commission that there is an anti-dumping on China, then there is circumvention via other countries. That means that you need to move to safeguard measure rather than anti-dumping or anti-subsidy cases. FTA India, EU for the moment is trying to secure many things via bilateral trade agreements. Malaysia is another thing, but it's all over the world. So with the US, with Canada, old ones, Latin America, Mercosur, but India, the most populous country on planet, it was a key dimension. We didn't want our PET, PTA, and PIA to be included in this agreement. Why? Because it liberalizes everything to come duty-free, despite the fact that FTAs are different than trade defense instruments, but still having everything coming from one country that has the capacity, and as Indorama Ventures, we are investing in India heavily on recycling front. So it's very important to protect the European assets. That's what we were doing on the left side. Now, for your information, something that is happening in Europe as well is like you take something and you look at the labelings made in Vietnam, made in China, made in Turkey. I used to have things now are being sorted out because of the problem of uncompetitive situation. Now, what Europe wants to do is made in the EU. Difficult, but they are trying to do it. France, for example, is trying on recycling content to give the benefit, the carrot, to the brand owners who pay the APR fee in order to get a bonus or a premium if they use higher than the legal minimum. The legal minimum is 25% by 2025. If they use plus 25%, they have the carrot that they can get money back. That's an important thing. Another thing which is important, and it might influence Turkey as well, is everything that has to do with recycling content until PPWR, it was mentioned before, this stands for Packaging and Packaging Waste Regulation. It was, and single-use plastics, which applies from now because PPWR applies from 2030, until November, 21st of November 2027, so let's say 1.5 years, a little bit less than 1.5 years, only recyclates, sorted and recycled in the union itself can count towards the 25% targets of single-use plastics directive. You can import from outside, but it's not going to count to the 25. If a brand owner puts 50%, the 25% needs to get it from Europe until November 2027, and the rest from outside. Thank you very much.